she is this beautiful, imaginative character that can start to shift the paradigm of how we look at ourselves, how I look at myself as a queer person, down to like how queer people dress.
So I loved Harlem. I loved all the Black girl magic, and I look forward to everyone watching. So Meagan, what attracted you to this project specifically? And was it fun being in this dynamic of just a foursome, like for the duration of filming?
Yeah. It's been definitely one of the highlights of my career and life. Like, you know, to be in a place where you really love the character that you're playing. You really love the people that you're working with. You really love like just the experience that you're having, because, you know, my kind of motto is like, even if you're working, it's a day in your life that you never get back. And so you want every day to be rich and full and to enjoy yourself and to do something that feels purposeful. And that's exactly what this show is for me. And I so connected to Camille because like there's so much of like who she is that I am that people don't know. And I haven't really got a chance to play a character like this. And I knew this was the kind of thing, the kind of character that I wanted to play, and to read the script that Tracy, like, I mean, I was just like, oh, it'd be a blessing if I get this. And then I got it. And then, yeah, so everything about this experience is just, it's really been epic and a blessing, and one I'm like so proud of and excited to share with people.
And Jerrie, your character is such a proud and beautiful representation of the LGBTQ plus culture. I actually spoke with Sidra Smith not too long ago, and I told her that I was very happy to see a love tell, because I feel like that was such a non-stereotypical portrayal of Black
life.
Yes,
I love that. And my friends did amazing. Yes.
Yes, and I feel like your character, Ty, is truly an embodiment of that. It's really an extension of what Sidra did in her project. So how pivotal do you feel that Ty is to the audience that will be watching?
Well, I think it's so pivotal because there is no character that I've seen, that I've experienced in television who exists in this way. A queer, Black, masculine presenting / androgynous woman who owns her own tech company, which, I mean, the amount of Black people that own their own tech company versus the amount of Black women that own their own tech company. And there's no data supporting Black queer people who own their own tech company, right? It's just a small amount of people, a small amount of Black people in tech. And so I think Ty starts the conversation of how do we begin to get Black people at an earlier age in the tech sector? How do we give Black people access to tech? And even the fact that she owns a company that supports LGBTQ people trying to date and trying to create a safe space for that is something that also doesn't exist, right? So I think she is this beautiful, imaginative character that can start to shift the paradigm of how we look at ourselves, how I look at myself as a queer person, down to like how queer people dress. And Deirdre, who is the costume designer, was amazing in that we had lots of conversations about not wanting to like make Ty a stereotypical butch female, right? Like, how do we elevate a conversation that's already being had? And also, if you're walking down the streets of Harlem, if you're walking down the streets of Brooklyn, you see fly ass people. People are dressed to the nines to walk their dog, to go get some groceries. And so that element being put on top of what Tracy already wrote is just, it just makes this, I think, transformative in terms of Ty and also all four of the characters.
Now, obviously, we're seeing the complexities or the struggles of dating in this new world. You mentioned the whole idea of bringing technology into the situation. And Meagan, your character, Camille, is really on this quest to show what a boss woman looks like and taking power and taking control, you know, in the dating world. And, you know, for women in their 30s, they might feel the need to start settling and knocking some things off of their list. But you did the opposite in your personal life. You know, fans of yours know your story, and we've read your book, and, you know, you said, I'm not going to settle. So what advice would you give to the 30 and over crowd who's going to watch this show, who are kind of in that space of, you know, dating and trying to figure it out?
you're not crazy. We're all trying to figure it out. And I think that sometimes you're made to feel badly because you don't have it all figured out. But the truth is nobody does. And I think it's really about knowing your self-worth and if you don't know, working at it every day and knowing that you deserve God's best and knowing that whoever comes into your life has to complement where God is taking you. And you don't have to settle, and I don't know. We're all figuring it out, though. I think that's important to say because it's not said enough. And we're often feel awkward because we think it's just us and it's not.
And as soon as we think we have it figured out, God comes and shakes it up.
Bam.
Yeah, a whole plot twist. So
precisely.
Jerrie, like I said, I love the dynamics of the friendship. I love that there's the dating aspect of the show. There's the career aspect of the show, and your characters all portray you guys at different stages of your life, whether that's in love, in career, within your actual circle of friends. So what themes and lessons do you want viewers to take away when they watch this series?
That it's okay to be successful, and women are successful and can be successful in spaces that we're not seen to be successful, where there's not representation of us being successful in. And also, like, we have to take care of ourselves and each other. We have to know that, like, in the quest to be the best whatever at whatever, we can't forget love. And that doesn't have to mean a monogamous romantic love, right? It can mean that, but familial love, friendship, getting back to a deep sense of self-love, always looking to like what it is that your heart desires in any given moment. And I think something beautiful about Ty is kind of in the moment where she's realizing what is important, but also the things that maybe she doesn't think is important or haven't had time to think about. Her world gets shaken up, and the universe is like, okay, well, you have to now think about this and figure it out. And for her, I would like for her to know, right, that you can do all the things that you want to do and be vulnerable and like have love in whatever way that fits like your life. And just knowing that it's so nuanced. Everybody's experience is so nuanced, and wherever you are, that's okay, because life is a journey, not a destination. And the list that you spoke about, checking stuff off the list, I think we just need to get rid of the list.
Yes.
And follow our instincts.
I agree.
Well, it's been a pleasure speaking with you both. I look forward to everyone being able to stream the show. And I spoke to a few other of the cast members earlier, and I just let them know that this is definitely filling a hole in what we're consuming. So well done. And again, thank you guys so much.
Amen.
How are you, Shoniqua?
Hi, Brenda. I'm wonderful. How are you?
I'm amazing. You look beautiful today.
Thank you. This day is a whole dream already.
Well, you
look lovely too.
Thank you. And your character in Harlem is a dream. What made you want to be part of a show like this?
Immediately, well, there's so many reasons, but the first one was Tracy Oliver. Before I even like gotten a chance to like read the script, I received an email with a notification that I got an audition and the role required nudity. And I was like, I told my agents immediately, I'm like, why are you sending this to me? I don't do that. That's not my brand, da, 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 da. And within like less than 5 minutes, my agents called me back and said, Tracy, said, you don't have to, it's not a big deal. Just as long as you're willing to, kiss someone or anything like that, you're fine. And with her deciding to change her expectations of the character, within 5 minutes, not having to have a conversation with her, not having to plead my case, not having to defend my morals or anything like that. I was like, this is immediately a project that I want to be a part of because the head cares. She cared immediately.
Yes, and that, like you said, that's good that you didn't have to adjust your moral compass in any way to be a part of a project, which is sometimes unheard of in the industry. And one of the things that I love the most about the show was that your character, Angie, really represents the idea of the struggling creative and that whole moment of, you know, going into your 30s and having a dream, but trying to figure out if this is something you should continue to pursue because you are in your 30s and, you know, you should be settling down or doing something else, or, you know,
and I ain't made it yet.
Yeah. And I think that's such a pivotal representation, not just in your group, but obviously in the world that we work in. Like the creative aspect of life is always booming, whether you're a singer or, you know, a writer or an actual like digital artist or painter or whatever. So what do you feel like your character gives to the audience?
What I love the most about Angie is that she does not take no for an answer. She treats herself and expects other people to treat her as the superstar that she knows she is. And there's a lot of like condemnation and like shame that can be associated with artistry, right? Like people say, what do you do? And you tell them that you're an artist and like, oh no, but what actually do you do? Yeah. And Angie would never take anything like that. She treats herself like she's Beyonce and everyone else around her acts the same. So that's what I really would love artists to gather is that, you know, we don't have to be ashamed just because we might not be where we want to be yet, but still keep the faith in who you are and the dream that you have in yourself and not allow anyone else to make you feel ashamed about it at all, because it's all a growth, right? And it's all a process. And there is no one way to this thing that we love so much, right? It's not like you can go on one job interview and it happens. So that's what I really love about Angie is that she's so convinced in her dream that the actuality and the reality of it, even though it might not have manifested yet, the air of it still surrounds her.
I love the one scene. I can't give too much away, obviously.
You seen? Yes,
I did. I love the one scene in the debut episode where, you know, you're kind of I will just say you don't have your own place, okay? And your character is staying with her best friend in the show, and you had to get her together real quick. And you know, and stand in your queendom and let her know, like, listen, it does, like you said, it doesn't matter where I am. And what I'm doing, just know that I will get to that point, and I don't need any pity party. I don't need any handouts. I am just as equal as everyone else in this group.
Exactly. And that's what I love about, I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry. And I was also going to add, was it fun being in this dynamic group of friendships? Did you guys feel like you really formed a sisterhood while filming?
It's absolutely a blessing to be able to work with these incredibly beautiful, talented, kind, and intelligent women. Like it really, immediately there was a rapport. And again, it starts with the head. Tracy was adamant about creating an environment where we all felt safe and familiar. And Meagan was the same way. I met her, my first time was in the bathroom of like our chemistry test. And she hugged me with such conviction that I thought maybe she thought I was someone else. I'm like, maybe she's mistaking me for someone that she might have met before, but no, she's just genuinely that kind. And when you have the leadership or the heads of a project, like creating that energy, you can't help but follow. Everyone's so generous and so beautiful. So yeah, it was instant chemistry, and honestly, God bless this set. God bless this project for sure.
And obviously the show chronicles the struggles or the complexities, you know, of dating in a major city, you know, within a certain age bracket, within a certain tax bracket. What do you feel like audiences will take away from that aspect of the show? Because we all can relate.
Okay. I think audiences mostly will be able to, I mean, you already said it, it's like being able to relate, because honestly, sometimes I don't always see the conversations me and my girlfriends have or what we're going through currently as millennial Black women dating via apps and dating in big cities and all these things. I've never quite seen it, excuse me, I'm so sorry, on set before. And so I really think that the audience will feel represented in a way that we've never been, in a way that I think they'll be able to see themselves reflected in it, their cousins. And if not, somebody who's gone through this.
Absolutely. And I 100% look forward to everyone watching the show. I think it fills a gap in the market right now. It's definitely something that's needed. You all do an amazing job. And like I said, your character, I feel like a lot of our generation will 100% be able to say, Angie, it's me. So well done.
Mm-hmm.
What made you want to be part of a show centered around 4 Black protagonists, chronicling the struggles of dating at that?
Yeah, I think the first thing that drew me to the project and to the character was when I was reading the pilot episode, and there was lots of room for like a well-balanced, thorough, like juxtaposition of a real character. A lot of times when I see comedies or romantic comedies, I kind of get one note, and that's not what Tracy Oliver was writing with this. So I think, the first thing that brought me to it is just the ability to marry, like the strength and virility of Ian's character with, the tenderness and the artistry of what he was going through as a gifted chef. And that kind of really drew me to the project. And then I saw, the storylines of the 4 women, and it was like, it was fun. Yeah.
So speaking of the 4 women, how was it part of being around such feminine energy during filming?
It was good. I got, I have big Aries energy. I'm a fire sign, a lot of masculinity. So they were good and mellowing me out. So it's fun. We had fun every day on set.
What do you think that, because you spoke about the kind of paradox within your character as far as vulnerability, but also, being basically like the front runner as far as a male lead in the show. What do you think viewers will take away from your character Ian and his dynamic within the group, and specifically with the character Camille?
Yeah, well, I think that one thing they can take away from is that, his strength and his focus is admirable. You got to get caught in the conflict because he's, technically leaving his girl to go chase his passion. But, through that, he's finding himself. I think in terms of, the relationship between Ian and Camille, it's nice to see 2 people that are different, but still one and the same. They have this, funny, loving chemistry where they kind of understand each other's BS. You know what I mean? They're able to push each other. They enjoy that verbal, seductive banter back and forth. They're always trying to one-up each other. And, it's refreshing to see something like that.
And one of the things that you mentioned specifically is that you spoke about your character Ian leaving his relationship to chase his passion, and obviously you're in entertainment, so I'm sure you have some experience there. Were you able to relate to trying to balance love, and not just love like within a romantic relationship, but obviously we see, career people or people chasing their dreams having to sacrifice family, having to sacrifice a lot of time away from other things that they love in order to make their dreams come to fruition? Absolutely.
So the circumstances were different, but the through line was the same. I literally went through the same thing about 10 years ago, 11 years ago now, to leave Philly and to go chase my dream in LA.
Philly native also.
Hey, there it is. Philly pride. Yeah. So, to leave everything that I've ever known to chase something that I've never seen, it sounds crazy to people. It sounds crazy to my mom, to my dad, in Ian's case, it sounded crazy to Camille. So there was lots of, parallels and similarities that I drew from my own life, while also sprinkling in lots of the homework that I did just in terms of being that gifted, creative, studied chef that Ian is. And I think that's refreshing too. Obviously, we want to see people that have cultivated a relationship like Ian and Camille for so long. We want to see them stay together through thick and thin. But I think it is a little bit refreshing to see someone that's passionate about their work, that's passionate about finding themselves. And the funny thing is that through doing that and through going through some of those obstacles and conflicts, you end up in this weird way coming back around to what it is that you wanted to work on in the first place. So, Ian goes away, but 5 years later, he stumbles back upon Camille just by chance,
And obviously we spoke earlier about the dating element that's shown in the show. We're living in a different time. There are apps now, social media. now. It's a lot
Yeah, it's
different,
different now.
from when our parents, or even when the millennials started dating, back in the day. It's definitely a lot different. And now, we see that you're happily booed up now, but when you were single, from a male's perspective, is it just as difficult in dating and trying to find the one? Because men and women are always trying to figure out, each other. So what would you like to tell women who are watching the show as far as, the complexities of dating for men as well?
Yeah, well, I think in my experience, which obviously is different from a woman, but I feel like there is a bit of this similarities in this, is that when you lack your purpose, you get distracted by you get extracted by like pleasures, if you will. Mm-hmm. So like for me, I think, and as I'm relaying this to women that may be watching, I think when you can hammer down or nail down what it is that you want to do, or what your purpose is, when you can make yourself happy, I think all the other things fall into place. And then on the flip side, if you're not making yourself happy, sometimes you can kind of get confused or thrown off the path in terms of what it is you're looking for, or what it is that you're attracting. In my scenario, I never really got happy in a relationship until I was happy with myself. When I was chasing my dreams and I was able to, put one foot in front of the other in terms of like my trajectory and where I was going, then it kind of opened up what it is that made me happy in terms of, my girlfriend in this scenario. So I think, I say all that to say, like, make yourself happy first. I feel like the rest finds itself.
And overall, what are you hoping that viewers take away from the show? What themes do you want them to focus on?
Well, I just think that, so there's lots of things I want people to take away from the show, but I think one of the central things that I'm hoping people get is that through some of these conflicts in life that may feel and seem hard, rightfully so as you're going through them, this is how you build yourself. This is where you find yourself. And I don't feel like you can get to the mountaintop until you go through some of those uphill battles. And, the easy way out never really seems to work for me. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that for Ian's character. I feel like that for Camille's character, and the rest of the women. Even some of the role players on the show, you might only see a couple episodes here and there. I feel like one of the through lines I want to get everybody to take away from this is finding themselves through that conflict and not being afraid to pursue something that you've never seen before.
Well, amazing. And like I said, I've thoroughly enjoyed the show, and I'm looking forward to everyone else being able to stream when it's available. So thank you again for speaking with PopCulture today, and have a good
Absolutely. I appreciate that.
So I loved the show. And one of the things that really captured my attention was that you decided to set the show in Harlem. Why choose Harlem for the setting?
I chose it because when I used to live there, it just was so much fun. Honestly, I wish I had a deeper answer for that, but it was a lot of fun. We would stay out till like 3-4 in the morning and have chicken and waffles and just be on the train drunk and doing a lot of like crazy stuff. And there's just a lot of culture that you're just like organically thrust in. And then you have like so much rich history with like Malcolm X and Adam Clayton Powell and the Harlem Renaissance. And I was just like, this is just like the dopest, like, setting for a show, because there's so much like woven into it already.
And that's something that you touch on, at least in the premiere episode, is like the ever-changing gentrification of cities like Harlem and other major urban cities. Why did you feel like it was necessary to incorporate that into the show, especially woven into the themes of, 4 Black women at a certain age group who are, navigating life, love, and career?
Yeah. So when I lived in Harlem, it was a lot Blacker and a lot different. And then when I came back, I was like, oh, wow. Like it's rapidly like gentrifying, and just the neighborhood was just a lot different. And when we were in the writer's room, there was this like ad, this real estate, I think it was a Compass ad that went viral because it was like, welcome to New Harlem. And it was like 2 white men on a stoop. And I was like, oh, wow. So that became like this thing. And it went viral because people were just talking about like Harlem is officially like being stripped of like it, its culture. And so it just felt like if you're doing a show set there, to not acknowledge that didn't feel like authentic to me, and didn't feel right to just pretend like it's not like, the community is not changing on some level.
And there's been a major reprise of series focusing on Black women in a certain age group and their friendships and their love lives. What do you feel like makes audiences yearn for this specific format?
I think that it's escapist and feel good. And I think it's necessary because I think we put sometimes, and by we, I mean Hollywood puts like a premium on Black pain and Black struggle and those types of stories. And I think like a lot of audiences just want to like grab a glass of wine and watch a show and laugh and be entertained with their friends. You know, there's a lot of like bonding and camaraderie that can happen with shows like this. And I kind of write for that audience. I've always been interested in making people laugh, making people cry, but joyful tears, not like, you know, pain, struggle tears, but just because you feel good around, you know, your friends. And at the end of the day, Harlem's like a love story between women. And those stories are just always important because I think men and women can come and go out of our lives, but our friends are the glue that always like holds us together. And I think it's a valuable message. And yeah, I think it's just really necessary.
And you've become synonymous with showing the dynamics of amazing friendships, long-standing friendships. Obviously, many people grew to know and love you from your amazing movie, Girls Trip. What attracts you to continue to kind of explore that whole idea? Now, you mentioned that you feel like, obviously you said that friendships more so are constant. It's probably the most intimate relationships that we have. I always say like friendship breakups or friendship problems are harder than romantic ones.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So besides that, is there anything else that adds to that whole dynamic that you love to keep exploring?
I think I've always been attracted to it because friends are really important in my life. And my sister's like my best friend. And I never really do sisters, but she kind of becomes characters and, you know, friend characters in my stuff. But I talk to my girlfriends about everything. And I just am really interested in those conversations. More than I am with like men and women talking, because there's just so many like funny and interesting things that we do as women together too. And there's just something like always great and fun about a familial vibe. And I think that the way I write friends together is kind of like family together. Like in this show and also First Wives and with Girls Trip, they're intimate like family. They joke on each other like family. They talk, I don't know if I can say talk shit, but you know, they say, you know, crazy things to each other like family. Mm-hmm. And they're the ones that are so vulnerable and honest that they can be like, girl, take that off. You look crazy. Mm-hmm. Whereas like, you know, men can't even get away with that stuff, but it's just an honesty and a vulnerability that I think women have with each other that I just always love exploring. And I also love exploring friendships over time too, and how they evolve. And so I would love with Harlem, if it does get multiple seasons, to kind of, and Sex and City did it really well, but just show when marriage and kids and other things start entering the picture, you know, how that affects, you know, your core friendship groups and stuff.
Now we mentioned Girls Trip, so I would be remiss if I did not ask, is there an update on the whole process for the movie? Because, you know, we're waiting.
That sigh is because I am waiting as well. The last time that I talked to Tiffany Haddish, she was like, girl, we doing this. And I was like, yay, it's happening. And then she's booked like a million things. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if it's ever gonna all align, but it has to be cast availability and the budget has to work out. And if I can be really candid, it's the budget for why this has been really tricky.
Well, Christmas is the season of miracles. So I will add that to my prayer list, that you get the budget that you need. And in the meantime, we have Harlem to look forward to. As I mentioned, I'm very excited for the audience to see this. I spoke to, you know, some of the cast already, and I told them that this is definitely a necessary gap that's being filled, especially for like the 30-something. So thank you so much for this. I love the show, and you will definitely get multiple seasons, and we'll be able to see, you know, our friendships and our lives flourish in the way that other series have had their chance to do so.